I am joined by a wonderful crew to break down four extremely interesting prospects. I think this is the wild card crew. I think in terms of how the prospects are determined, how this could play out. And I think if you asked every different evaluator, you would probably say like, "Who's the lottery pick of this group?" You'd probably get 10 different answers. I'm really excited to have them on. I will let everybody introduce themselves while I do some of the stats. You guys are unmuted, by the way.
All right, so I guess I'll start. Hi, I'm Ignacio Rissotto, work for ID Prospects. Been doing some stuff for the Stepien in the past. I deal with international prospects. If you watch the Roco stream we did with PD, you probably know me. I feel like I'm a veteran of PD streams. I think I've been like in 4. And feel happy that I get invited every time. So yeah, that's me.
Hi, I'm Ben Pfeifer, Wash draft analyst, the owner of the PD fan club and Mizzou's #1 bachelor, because I'm just gonna get out in front of that one before PD says it to me. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Have on Twitter at Ben_Pfeifer_ post my draft takes now, just to this point in a more casual format. But yeah, I did the Franz stream, also featured on that Rocco stream that Ignacio was on, so that was kind of a crowning achievement of my life. But yeah, again, it's really excited to be back and to talk about one of my favorite prospects in the class today.
What's going on, everybody? My name is CT Fazio. I write over at Crown Hoops. I do a bunch of NBA articles, college articles as well. Got 2 articles coming out this week, one on the Nuggets draft prospects 26, and then another one with second-round targets as well. So thanks again to PD for having me on, and looking forward to talking with you guys about the draft.
I'm still Brian. I'm the same person I've always been. I'm not on camera because I'm coming down from a severe sinus infection, but yeah, here to talk about some guy that I like. You may or may not have heard of him. I've been on a couple streams before, just a little burnout today, but ready to go. Ready to talk about SHARIFE.
So I'm about 2 minutes away. Just entering all these stats, which everybody has been so gracious for providing with me, so I don't get run over by a bus like what happened earlier when I tried to do this myself. And I wrote Joe Wieskamp stats for Deuce McBride, and nobody noticed for a minute, and then it was really bad. So I've been enlisted the help of others, which I'm greatly appreciative of, because your boy is running a little bit on fumes. So I'm gonna just enter in a couple of tankathon splits. Weirdly, it wasn't until I got to the free throw rate that I realized that Joe Wieskamp and Deuce McBride were different people. It did take me a good minute. It wasn't like, wow. I was just like, yeah, I believe all these numbers. Like, sure, one West Virginia game kind of feels like all of them, like in a weird way. And then I finally hit a wall where I was like, oh yeah, something is wrong here. So yeah, SHARIFE had a 33 usage. It's a good number to have for 12 games.
It's pretty good.
If I could just ask like a random question, what was everybody's favorite team to watch? Just like from an enjoyment perspective.
Easy Auburn.
How about, okay, if Auburn's your 1, who is your 2?
Can I say Adelaide? Does that count?
Yeah, I mean that's fun.
Adelaide
was Kitty, like that team was so fun together.
Yeah, and they were fun not just because of Giddy, but like their playbook was awesome.
Yeah, their
Yes.
coach is awesome.
Yeah.
I want him to like be tethered to Giddy for the rest of his career. Like,
They did a lot of like players coming off screens, and Giddy always had like 2 or 3 options, which I think did wonders for his assist numbers this year. But like every game, I would like take note of a play or something like that, or draw up a play that I liked and say, okay, I'm gonna save this for later because it's really good.
resident Josh Giddy hater, Ignacio.
No, I mean, if not having Josh Giddy top 3 is being a hater, and yeah, I'm a hater.
You heard him say it,
five.
everybody. Everybody said it. You heard it. It's on camera. Similar
This
to.
is going to get clipped. This is going to get clipped with the only with the I'm a hater part.
Yep.
And yeah, I guess I deserve it. I guess
Yeah,
I
this
deserve
is your equivalent of Nikias's. We saw you. There's
We
film
saw it.
of what you did.
it.
Caught red-handed.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
What you did.
I have one done. Okay, let's. Sharif is done. Yeah. So Ignacio, just you might as well just tattoo it on you. Hashtag I'm a hater.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm changing my Twitter bio.
Yeah.
And my handle.
yeah.
Instead
Internationally
of verbal,
known.
it's gonna be Giddy Hater.
Oh, I think you could just shorten it to hater. People will know exactly what you're talking about.
I wonder if it's taken though. If the Twitter handle Hater is taken.
It must.
Um, The only thing that I ask is that no one tag players in streams.
Yeah, I've never done that.
We are starting to pile in people, some of whom may have never interacted with us, which I appreciate. I'm always here to welcome in people, no matter what level of year-round obsession you have with the draft. But my general policy is that I just pretend that there is an invisible wall between me and players and stuff like that, and I don't find it productive. So if you have a tendency to tag a player in our opinions, please try to refrain from doing so. Nothing productive comes of that. This is not targeted at anybody in particular, and I do not know why you would think that.
You can tag Jason Preston, get him in here. But other than that,
I mean, some players are notorious because of like searching their own names.
There are some really elite posters.
surely
Oh,
nobody in this. Nobody
no,
in this.
I can tell a story now
RJ
because
Hampton was an elite poster.
Oh
yeah,
my
I can tell a story now because
RJ Hampton is an elite poster. That is true.
because it's been long enough. But I was watching a prospect like 3 or 4 years ago who is in this draft, and their parent was sitting in front of me, and every possession the parent was refreshing a name search on their child, and every not like every TV timeout, every possession. And
Yes.
I was very tempted to just like be like, just in all caps, like just player's name. You should really stop doing this. Just to be like, hey, I see you, and this is not a healthy way to live. The kid was hooping too. That was the thing. It was just like,
You know what I think the funniest story I have? It's a summer league story, and it was during the third quarter of like a not very good game in Cox in the big building, and it was me. It was about 4 or 5 of us, and a friend of the show, Tom, not Tom, was sitting next to me, and we were somehow talked about Derek Favors. Somehow we were talking about like prospect Derek Favors. And I was like, he was a great prospect. He was really good. And Tom just offhandedly said, yeah, but the guards on that team all sucked. They couldn't get him the ball. And the people in front of us started laughing because the people in front of us were like Mafana Dofia and his family. And he was just like, I was on that team. He was like, no, but we sucked. We couldn't get him the ball. You're right. And it was really funny. That's the story that can only happen in summer league. Right?
Yeah, I have a
okay, I've got one last
there
one.
was
And we're
a
done.
prospect from last year.
Wait,
who
Henry Friends. Who am I
won't
missing?
say the prospect. So he was. I tweeted a clip about his burst being mildly underwhelming in a specific clip, not a comment on his overall burst or even like really anything. But I tweeted a clip about his burst being kind of bad in a clip, and he DM'd me the clip and said, "Race me."
That's just
So-
good. That's just fair play. That is just fair play. I'm sorry.
And I will not say what prospect is. It was from last year's draft. I don't think it's that hard to guess. But yeah, I thought that was amusing. He never responded back to me when I
cannot believe Denny Avdia did that.
I plugged him our Prep to Pro episodes of us talking nice things about him.
Again,
Oh, I
just,
know which prospect this is. Then yeah.
again, I can't believe Denny Avdia did that.
Yeah, freaking Danny.
I've got no stories to tell, unfortunately.
Okay, so I'm all ready to go. I can turn screen share back on so that not everybody can read my Twitter DMs, which are just full of people saying very mean things about me for some reason.
That's definitely true.
That's 100% what all of it is.
Yes, I did reply. I sent back our Prep to Pro episodes talking good things about him, and he never replied. So
Anyway, all
didn't
right.
want to-
Let me turn this back on, and we should be ready to go. All right, shift 4. Starting with VRENZ.
Yes.
Let me get the crawl correct. And I don't think I put the names on the crawls. That seems like an oversight. No, I put his name on the crawl. Okay. Hopefully it's a process elimination type thing. Okay. Name is up. Put the share up. No, that's not what I wanted. I wanted. No, it's not that one. Sorry, I'm now playing. Guess which button is the button that brings everything back. It's a fun game.
Don't worry, man.
No.
Oh, I'm doing bad things. It's not the good things. Oh, it's hidden. Okay, this is the one. Okay, whew, got it. My brain could not handle that if it were true. Okay. All right. So, will our VRENZ expert step down and let us know the 5 central points of evaluating VRENZ?
So for me, with VRENZ, it starts with the so point number 1 would be the combination of size, passing, and handling ability. So I know it's a ton, but that's one for me. How one thing feeds off the other, and it's kind of a triangle that makes him very effective in those scenarios. I would say number 2 is from that how much he's able to capitalize on drives, but how limited he is in terms of, let's say, half court or drives off a standstill. I would say number 3 is lack of body strength and how it affects every part of his game. And I would say number 4 is just, let me put it this way. I would say it is the shooting mechanics and how much you take into account that into shooting projections in general, and how much you balance that with how much you balance touch, versatility, and shooting mechanics. And the 5th thing for me is his age, because a lot of things that we're going to discuss here, we have to take into account that VRENZ was born in 2000s. And so it's not going to be the same case as an 18-year-old coming into the league. And one of the biggest comparisons that we're going to see with VRENZ generally is Poku. And the difference is that Poku was 18 years old coming into the league, and VRENZ is not going to be 18 and might not have as much time to improve as someone who is younger coming into the league. So those would be my 5 points for him.
Okay. As always, guys, feel free to jump in. We, we're giving the floor to the person who's generally presenting, but this is a dialogue between the group, not necessarily a long speech. What is the name of this league? I struggle to remember the full one. It's not.
Yeah, it has a kind of a commercial league, which is Euro Millions League, but it's the Belgian league. Basically, it's the first tier of Belgian basketball, where Port of Antwerp, which is the team where VRENZ plays, is in, and they're going to play Alts in this game. Mm-hmm. So if you want me, I can just run over the play and start it.
Yep.
So in the first play here, we're going to see VRENZ call for a screen. I love how he's able to use hesitations and his low dribble point to keep here he gets a switch. He keeps his primary defender and gets him a little bit of balance and off space, which brings a help defender. And he's able to exploit that with a really bounce pass, a really beautiful bounce pass in like through a tight window. And I thought it was an awesome way to really exploit his fluidity as a handler for his size. Let's remember that's he's 6'11", and just hit the big sleeping the screen. So we're going to see a bit more of that here. This is a really good find. I thought he was able to really read the defense, and not just read his individual defense, but also the defense as a whole. So Alts is going to leave their 5, who should be defending the corner because Antwerp is playing 5 out. They're going to leave him as an anchor. And VRENZ is going to use his size, and that's where I think the size comes in handy to really scan over the top of the defense and find, if we can run back the previous play real quick, he's going to be able at 6'11" to scan over the top of the defense and deliver the ball really, really accurately to the opposite corner. And that's going to make the big closeout hard. And that's just a closeout attack and an open dunk. So I thought the ability to keep the ball in his hands, read the defense, and make passes is really incredible. This is another play that I had to watch like 3 or 4 times to really think about, okay, did he really want to do this? So here, Alts is going to switch, and they're going to, the middle of the floor is going to be clean for him. And he's going to see 3 blue jerseys and 4 white jerseys. And that allows him to just work the play and manipulate the defense to get the help defender to commit and open up number 15 on his team for a almost open layup. And like I can even see the opposing team going like, okay, what was that? Because no one was really expecting that. The thing with VRENZ is that he makes this kind of home run plays, but he will always go for a home run play. So here, like, he could have gone for number 23, open in the opposite wing, and bring the play back. But he just tries to go with a home run play. He's going to get double, 5 is going to sleep, and he's going to get a help defender. He's going to try to wrap around the bounce pass. It's not going to work, and that's a transition bucket against him.
Can I ask a question, Ignacio?
Yeah, sure.
I'm curious what you think about his current plays. What we know about VRENZ, his passing wiring in terms of his scoring development. Like you've been noting, yes, like the home run plays. I generally view these home run plays as almost exclusively positive for young playmakers because of just the high leverage. The high leverage passes and the turnovers don't really seem to matter to me. But I think VRENZ and a lot of young playmakers in a similar archetype can kind of eschew their scoring responsibilities for these maybe flashier passes, like we saw in that the oh crap pass on the play before. He had a pretty wide open catch and shoot 3 that he didn't even look at the rim. And I worry about in the league, even if he is an effective passer and is making these really complex, high-level passes, teams just kind of play the pass. So I'm curious how you feel about his overall wiring in terms of his balance between passing and scoring, and the development of that wiring in terms of his NBA role and projection.
That's an awesome question. Now, I would say that I don't view the like you said, I don't view the home run type of plays and type of passes as something negative. I will always value a prospect that doesn't just play it safe. I will always value that. And with VRENZ, in terms of passing and trying to make plays for others, he certainly doesn't play it safe. We're gonna get more into other situations of the game later, but I would say that similar, and I'm going with the Poku comparison again, similar to Poku before coming into the league, I feel like his inability to drive against size and against strength and against physicality, NBA teams, like you said, are going to play the pass if they see that he's not a threat to score as a driver. On this particular league, I would say that he was pretty, happy in terms of shooting the ball. Not so much someone who is super comfortable going to the rim, especially with his left hand. And that lack of versatility as a driver might make teams, like you said, just play the pass when he's on the move. But I wouldn't worry about it with the shooting in terms of his wiring. So if he's open, he's going to shoot. He's going to shoot a jumper. But if he sees traffic as a driver, he might want to avoid that with a pass. And it's awesome that some of those passes work, but like you said, in the NBA, if he doesn't gain enough strength, that might just not work.
So more Rocco than Franz as a shooter, which
exactly, yeah,
is good. Good.
So when you were thinking about a guy who's like home run wired, do you need to see a certain amount of like normal reads? Like, I don't mean to say that like on this particular pass, this sling pass, if I can run it back slightly.
Yeah.
Like he has the sling pass to the slot. Like the defender is not covering the cross court sling. And he doesn't ever look for it. He's not holding this defender in tension. He's just like, oh, they don't think I'm gonna throw it. Like, do you need to see that there is a balance, like that he's capable of making the very good play? Or do you need to see, like, how much of the very good do you need to see to balance out the excellent? Like the excellent ideas, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I would say that I love that and this is me comparing him to other initiators in Europe. Mm-hmm. I think for me, the ability to say, hey, I'm going to attempt this play, and it doesn't matter if my coach just pulls me out of the game and yells at me. That's something that in Europe, sadly, we don't see we see less often than we should. Players should be more, encouraged to make those type of plays. So considering what I'm doing here is I'm trying to consider the context of Europe not being a league where coaches, not being a context where coaches are generally too happy with young players attempting those types of home run plays. So if you try to make those home run plays, even though you don't make the very good ones, I will take it as a positive. But yeah, I think the bigger point though, and what I try to show with that play is that there's going to be a lot of that with VRENZ initially in the NBA. There's going to be a lot of things he attempts, and an NBA defense is going to be more developed, and there are no plays that an NBA defense hasn't seen. And that's going to create a lot of turnovers. So I expect VRENZ to have an adjustment period and be someone who is turnover prone at the beginning of his stay in the league, I would say.
Yeah, sorry for the long questioning. Let me jump back to where we were so you can get back to the clips. I just wanted to know how you balance those things.
Yeah.
This is a really difficult question.
Yeah, I would say that it at the end of the day it just goes back to which context are you scouting, and some contexts are more coaches are more happy with those type of plays. So we're going to see some of his driving threat here. I would say that he's pretty fluid with the ball in his hands, especially going right. He's way right hand dominant. He only took 10 shots at the rim with the left hand this year. But if you give him the right, he's going to be able to put the ball on the floor. He has a low dribble point. And he can finish with good extension. He has a 7'1" wingspan. I would say that I wouldn't see him in the NBA creating drives out of sheer quickness. And he's at his best when the defense can just when his team can give him, like we're gonna see in this play, when his team can give him a screen and clear space for him. So if you can run this play.
Yeah.
All right. So he's going to come out of a screen here. Three's going to try to show on the play and is not going to be able to get back in time. And that's going to give VRENZ a really good runway to the rim. He's going to be able to take a few steps. And when he's able to get that momentum with his long legs, he's able to make stuff happen on the drive, even though he's not someone who you want to really take a lot of, contact or damage in his way to the rim.
How relatively, like, as a violent athlete, would you grade him compared to other like top 45 guys who are like bigger wings?
How I would compare him as a explosive athlete,
like for example, like Hazonia is trying to do a backflip in this circumstance.
Yeah. Let me go through the international.
Yeah, that's what I mean. The international guys.
I would say he's somewhere in the Josh Giddey realm of withstanding physicality, which is the not very good one. Just because I think and we're going to see this later, the lower body is just not developed, and he's not able to gain a ton of strength from his legs, and he can get off balance. He can get thrown off balance pretty easily. Here we're going to see a few plays, and we can let it run where he can just doesn't get even here where he gets a screen. He just doesn't get enough power after after turning the screen, and he needs to pick up the ball as soon as he feels any pressure coming up from the wing, and that doesn't allow him to really get a ton of momentum going to the rim, even though he had a really good extension there. And here he just feels physicality and just not able to elevate against contact, not able to push his way or create any space towards the rim. And he's just going to get called for a travel. They're also forcing him to his left, and his left hand has been, like I said, not someone who is really willing to take many shots with his left hand, and that's going to severely
future Nugget Josh Primo
severely limit him at the NBA. Here we're going to see a bit of the lack of lower body strength that I was talking about. This time on defense, also is going to get a switch here, and they're just going to push him down and establish deep position, and there's absolutely nothing he can do to keep his man out of the paint. Again, lower body strength, and to me also high hips is going to be tough for him to defend certain types of big wings, and also going through screens like we see here. Here it's a bit of both. it's a bit of lack of physicality going through the screen, but also he gets distracted in the middle. I don't know if he was trying to call for a switch with his teammate. His teammate to me clearly indicates that, he's not going to switch, and that gives number 15 in Nulls time to catch the ball deep and get a bucket. We're gonna see some of that. We're gonna see some of that here as well. Here, I thought I think he's not going to be able to defend bigs or big forwards, even though he's 6'11". But his foot speed makes me think that he could defend down a few positions. Here he's going to close out and he's going to force the defender to his left, which is a really good job. And then he's going to, even though the defender is able to create space at the end with his footwork, he's able to match every step from a smaller opponent, from a smaller driver. And I thought that foot speed is pretty good for someone 6'11". And it could be someone who develops into defending those type of wings and those type of drives. The negative on defense is just, the lapses and the lack of motor and awareness. I don't even know what he's doing here. He's not bringing help. He's completely upright. He's not with his men. If we can run that display real quick back. But yeah, I think we're seeing it here. Yeah. So he's defending the man in the wing. He doesn't even attempt to dig at the ball. Might have been because the team is saying, hey, don't help from this side. It could have been something with scheme, but if it was scheme, I don't know why he isn't closer to his man. I don't know why he's ball watching, because his man is cutting to the corner and would have gotten an open shot. And so those type of lapses in defensive decision-making, especially off the ball, are something that are there for him. And there are going to be, to me, there are going to be keys for him because a lot of his damage on defense is going to be with him helping from the corner and using his length and using his tools. So that is where we go with the tools versus the awareness and the team defense. So that's going to be one of the battles for him. Finally, I wanted to get to his shot. We're seeing a make here. We're going to see a couple of misses. I included a couple of angles so we can see his form from the back and we can see his form from the side. The things I see here. So if we can stop before if we can stop after this play before the last shot. So the things I'm seeing here are the feet are too close together. And also we are able to see how he kind of chicken wings both his guiding arm and his shooting arm, which it probably creates some like right-left variance on his results. But I would say none of this in terms of alignment is as, I think that's fixable. But what we're going to see here in display is what really concerns me the most, which is the release. So first, no follow through, really short arms the shot. I would say the release point is pretty low for him. He almost releases from the front of his face, maybe even a bit lower. And obviously the good part is that the shot is lightning quick. But yeah, I just don't know how you would fix a shot that looks like that at this point, and especially, and this is my last point, because I've been talking too much, but especially considering that he's going to turn 21 in his first NBA season. And so this is, to me, a case where all the raw areas, you can treat him like he's an 18-year-old just coming into the league, and he's a bit further ahead in the in the developmental curve. And I don't know, and this is my question to you all, do you think some of those flaws are approachable at that age? And how much do you weigh those flaws for a prospect that can be considered raw in some areas?
Yeah, I have a question for you guys about that. Just like kind of watching his tape compared to Poku, I feel like Poku, the Thunder really devoted the resources to let him kind of experiment a little bit. Do you think VRENZ is going to get the same opportunity? I mean, Poku was pretty hyped as a prospect. He went in the top 20. I don't know if VRENZ is going to go that high, but do you think a team is going to actually give him the ball and say, let's see you secondarily play make?
I think there's a question that should probably be asked before that, which is that good for his development? Because the thing with Poku was that Poku played 700 professional minutes before he got to the NBA. Poku played so little basketball, and he was the youngest player in the draft. So I think being 3 years older and having played a ton more basketball, I think if you're going to draft VRENZ, the pathway for him being a valuable player on his rookie deal is to winnow his role type down, rather than with poker you're just go be weird till we figure out what exactly you're supposed to be. I think with VRENZ, he does have interesting movement skills. I think the shooting indicators are a possibility, though there probably needs to be a rebuild, and he obviously needs physical development. And to me, the best way of handling that is to try to treat him like an overqualified tertiary, rather than throwing him to the wolves, which I think will end very poorly.
I think 1 year in the G League would do wonders for him, really. I think this is the type of guy that if you, given the age, and it's not like he's super old, but he's older than, those type of quote-unquote raw guys coming into the league. And like PD said, he played a lot more minutes of professional basketball than Poku. So I think that if you want to quote-unquote fix him, you have to do it now. So this is not a case where I would be comfortable drafting him and stashing him overseas. It can work, but if you want to maximize the value and his potential, he needs to come to the States. He needs to be in a strength and conditioning program from the NBA, not from some team in Belgium or somewhere like that. With all due respect to international basketball, I think strength and conditioning in the NBA is a whole different level. So he needs to be in the NBA with an NBA team. And I think he needs to see a lot of reps at first in the G League. The jury's still out, I guess, with Poku, in if giving him the reins of a team so early and losing so many games is going to be actually good for him in the long term. Obviously, his ability to develop as the season went on, and he ended up the season in a pretty sweet note, I would say. So that's a positive, but it didn't happen until he went to the G League. So they threw him into the fire. He was bad. He went to the G League, came back, and was a different player. And I think maybe the path of development for VRENZ looks something like that. Getting to the G League, let him play, bring him up at the end of the season, and depending where the team that drafted him is how many reps you can give him against NBA competition. If you're hunting for the playoffs, maybe don't play VRENZ as your primary or even someone who can make plays off the bench. But if you are out of it by March, bring him in, I would say. And that's where we go to which teams are the best fit for him. And I would say teams that aren't really looking to contend this year. I think that's the perfect scenario for him, because they can go through that timeline of G League, bring him back in March when we're eliminated and we're tanking for, Chet or whoever, and give him as many reps as we can.
All right, we feel good about where we are with VRENZ. Yeah, that's a ringing endorsement for me. Let's jump into Aaron Henry. So, CT, what are the 5 critical evaluation points for beloved draft Twitter wing Aaron Henry?
For me, just to start, I actually wrote a draft article on Henry back in May. So I think the one thing to me that sticks out is positional size and wingspan. So he's 6'6", with a 6'10" wingspan. So I think his ability to play multiple positions and guard multiple positions as well as someone from maybe a 1 to 3 and maybe even a 4 spot as well. I think that's something that's beneficial for him. Number 2 is definitely the defense. I think that's his main calling card as soon as he gets into the league. I think he has a great combination of lateral quickness, very strong at 210 pounds. Just someone who can guard. I feel like he can guard point guards, the point of attack. With his strong body and big wingspan. He averaged 1.3 blocks, 1.3 steals, and something that I really liked about him was he disrupted a lot of DHOs as well. I know it's a pretty specific thing, but just for me on the film, just watching that, I really like that about him. Number 3 for me is the playmaking. Michigan State this year really tasked him with kind of the playmaking role as being like the lead guy. So he increased his playmaking each year. So each year he got better at that. And this year he averaged actually 3.6 assists, which I thought was pretty good for him. So for me, I think he could potentially be a secondary ball handler in the league. He ran a decent amount of PNRs, very good getting the defender on his back. He had a righty and lefty floater as well that I really liked, being ambidextrous, getting into the lane and finishing. I think, obviously I think the shooting is definitely the swing skill. To stay in the league, we're seeing now in the playoffs, you have to be able to shoot at a decent rate in order for you to basically stay on the floor. But, I think he does bring other intangibles to the table that could, help him stick out. But I think the shooting, 33% career shooter. This year only shot 30% on 3 attempts a game. So I think that's something that he's going to have to work on. Luckily, I see he's working on it with Mike Miller right now, Nuggets, former Nuggets legend. He worked with RJ Hampton as well in the offseason last year. And I watched RJ a lot with the Nuggets before he got traded to the Magic. And his jump shot, to me, from what I watched on the film, was definitely way better from where it was prior to the season as well. So, and then finally for me here, I have contact aversion. He's very strong. So I on the film, I would have liked to see him, use his body a little bit more and kind of try to finish at the rim and maybe, finish over the top of defenders. So I feel like he kind of settled for the floater a little bit too much with the right hand or the left hand as well. But 55% at the rim, 47% assisted. So I think we'll get better at that. I just think he has to, enforce his will a little bit more in the paint.
That's definitely a lot of what I hit on. I mean, the thing for me is always the difficulty is like figuring out exactly what level of shooter he is.
Right.
Because like if you look at those month by month splits, you can get some different answers looking at each month. And there's not a real like rhyme or reason to his attempts or his attempt frequency or the usage profile. It's just like sometimes it'd be going in, other times it really does not.
Right.
The first 2 months, I swear, he was like shooting like 14% from 3 or something, and then
it was not good.
And then he finished the year super strong.
Yeah, right. February I have here actually. He shot 37% from 3 from February to March 18th. So that was pretty good, other than the first 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, we can just always pretend like those first 2 months didn't really exist.
Right.
Who's to say? This is our 4th Duke game of the day. I swear I did not plan this.
Yeah, this one was on me for the Duke game, but yeah, what I see here is a nice. He gets the ball off the rebound here. Nice push. Yep, see the outlet right here. Yeah, to me, what I like about Henry is that he's very decisive what he's doing either way. So he's got a nice righty floater. You can do that in the pick and roll. Nice attacking off transition as well. Nice here, double the post. Is that Jalen Johnson down there? And then, yep. So he sees that right here. You just tell he's just guarding point guards. Just feel like it's very overwhelming, just because he's 6'6", 6'10" wingspan. It's just like very noticeable. That's DJ Stewart, right? So DJ Stewart's probably like what, 6'2"?
Yeah, about. I think he measured around there.
I mean, right. It wasn't even close to getting that shot off. Yeah, see what I see here with Henry, comes off, dribble handoff here.
Swing.
See, he gets the pick, and I think he goes a little bit too quick here. Yeah, if you freeze that right there, PD.
Yeah, give me 1 second. Where do you want it? Right at the go?
Yeah, right at the go. See right here, where he rejects the screen, right? So he rejects the screen first, and he has a pretty wide open lane, because I think that's on Jalen, I think, right? That he's out of position.
Yeah,
a little bit guarding the ball screen. You see Langford in the paint where he's kind of clogging the lane a little bit. So I think if Aaron waited a little bit longer for Josh to swing out to the corner, then I feel like the lane would have been a little bit more open.
Yeah,
but
it's just not. It's not paired with where Langford is. Like the move is right, and like it's the right move at the right time for his defender, but it's not the right move at the right time for where Langford is, because Langford is not a threat in the dunker spot.
Right.
So it's like if anything about this was slightly different, it would have been perfect. But because of that piece of context, it's going to be a little more crowded than it would probably be. I mean, if Langford instead peeled out to that corner, it'd be perfect. But
right,
just looking at that spacing, it's a little less than ideal.
Definitely. I like how decisive he is off the tack. He reads it really well. Nice screen rejection, which is he gets the defender off balance, and then unfortunately he just misses the layup. But a little bit longer there, I feel like it would have been good. Yeah, see right here, nice defense by Henry. This is what I really like about him. Is this is on Matthew. Is that Matthew Hurt?
Yep.
So Matthew Hurt's 6'9", and Henry's 6'6". Gets a nice swipe of the ball here off the jab step, throws him off a little bit. Then he gets it back because he thinks he has an advantage trying to attack, but Henry's he's really strong, and he uses his big wingspan to actually block him, and decides to make him fade away a little bit off a bad shot right there.
Yeah, this is a mixed day for my Matt Hurt stock. I will say that. But we had the game where he had 37, and the last two have been a little bit rough for him.
Right.
Such c'est la vie for the Matthew Hurt experience, unfortunately. In the sophomore season, where kind of everything went, I don't want to say sideways, but not particularly well for him. Still could shoot though. Right.
See, if you get Henry on the switch here, he could easily take Hurt to the basket. I feel like I know his burst isn't really that. He's not really that quick, but if he gets a little bit of a step here and just waits a little patiently, I mean, if you freeze that PD right there.
Tell me when.
Yeah, right there. See, look at the floor, how clogged it is. I mean, there's a guy in the paint. There's some guy looks like in the dunker spot, and then one in the corner as well. Yeah. So I mean, if we're really looking at the room to operate, I feel like he should have a little bit more spacing out there. Then he would be able to operate and kind of get into the paint a little bit more. But I mean, I feel like that's one reason why he's settling a little bit, but also just a bad shot in general, I think.
To me, it's not even the shot that bothers me. It's that I don't like against switches to give the defense time to overload.
Right. So that's a good point.
The defense knows that this is not a particularly great matchup, but now they can overload against whatever does happen. Where if he goes on the initial switch, there's not time for the spacing to really gear up against him. Right. And it's not like he has an amount of juice, but it's not like he's somebody where you can just be like, okay, we got the switch we want. Everybody go hang out in the corner.
Right.
That's not necessarily the player that he is, or the offense that Michigan State generally wants. So right. I would like, if that attack had been the time from recognizing switch that they wanted to attack was shorter, this process looks a lot different.
Right. I think that's a great point. He was tasked with doing really the bulk of the offensive work for them. So I think that's why it doesn't really look good here. Oh, yeah, if you could freeze that PD.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite plays of his, the whole season. You see Jalen here, he gets a nice back cut from Hurt. but he recognizes it right away. Like right away, as soon as he picks up the ball, he knows that he's going to pass the ball to Hurt on the roll there, or on the slip. Then just gets a really, really nice steal.
Yeah,
I also
this
like
was-
to just push in transition. He's always pushing in transition, looking for a pass or a score, which I really like.
that rotation was like an oh crap moment for me because like Aaron Henry wasn't doing this his first two college seasons.
Right.
Like his team defense in terms of instincts and recognitions has always been underwhelming. And then he just out of nowhere started doing stuff like this, which, as you pointed out, is a high level play. So again, I think that's just like very important for his growth curve and projection as a defender, because I don't think it's something you see very often, like substantial improvements to that area of defense. But I do think Henry has kind of done it, which matters a lot to me.
Yeah, he's also like really hunting stocks in a way, which is like it's not just that he improved, is that he improved in a way that like does show a level of growth.
Right. Yeah, I just like his attack and transition here. He gets the ball, just pushes it right across the court. And his ability to finish with the right hand too is something that's really impressive as a lefty. But he was like really, it almost looked like he was more comfortable using his right than the left on some of his plays that I watched.
I'm pretty sure
reverse
Henry
LeBron.
is a righty.
Yeah,
Like he is
But
a
he
righty.
shoots with the left, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure he just like is a righty in every aspect of life, but shooting a basketball.
yeah. That's a LeBron special.
Like, look at this rotation here. That's a really nice rotation right there. As far as just he recognizes the defender getting beat and then just comes over for the block. He's not
Yep.
the most athletic, but I mean he can get up. I've seen him, get a couple posters this year.
Yeah,
But
I mean, he's a high
recognized it
major
right
athlete.
away. Right.
He's not like a high major like he's not Zion, but like he's a high major wing athlete like that.
Right.
that- you'll get you'll get like real weak side punches when they can see it coming and load up.
It's one of my favorite plays too. Another screen rejection here, then another righty finish as well. Defense a little bit scrambled. Sure.
Just like kind of we talked a little bit earlier. What do you make of his? I mean, you might get to this. Just like wanted to bring up the point about contact aversion, because I mean, you see on this play like he is quite strong and can pretty easily discard defenders, and I think you pretty rarely saw that in his tape from this season and just in general. So what do you make of his ability to improve that tendency, just in terms of wiring or coaching, or is there like a skill development piece that needs to happen before you can really take full advantage of his strength and theoretical ability to play through and generate his own contact?
I think it's just about enforcing as well, honestly. Like, he has the strength. I mean, I've seen him make rotations where he's absorbing contact, taking charges as well. Just for me, I just feel like he kind of settled a little bit. You saw the floaters that he would take kind of off balance, stuff like that. I mean, I feel like hopefully in the league, I feel like he can improve on that. I think maybe it's just maybe a little bit of coaching, or maybe just him, like I said, just enforcing his will a little bit more.
Yeah, this decision does bug me. He has good dribble pickups, but he also has stuff like this where he just kills his dribble for no reason, because I don't think he's
Right.
super comfortable in small spaces. Which is like, yeah, he manipulates Jalen Johnson out of the way, but like, why did he pick up his dribble? Why did he need to pick up his dribble to do it? Like, that could have been he could have walked into a left hand layup.
Right. That's the thing. Is like I saw on tape where it's like he had these lanes, like see that, like right there, where he had the lane to get in, and then he just either wouldn't do it or he would miss sometimes, like this one.
Yeah, Matthew Hurt being a rim deterrent is a problem.
Yeah, that's why I really want to use this clip just to highlight. Like,
He's a really strange player. Like, there's
Yeah.
no two ways around it. Like, it's been this way for 3 years now, where you're like, the highs are super high, the lows are not really related to the highs. Like, it sort of feels like a different player, and then
Right.
like the median shifts from year to year. Like, if the median includes these like weak side flashes where he's in the right spot a half second ahead, like, that's still a very valuable player. If the median is a guy who struggles to generate contact despite being built like a miniature version of Ant-Man, like, that's a problem.
right.
I do really
I
enjoy
definitely
the fact that he is like despite the definitely all of us agreeing that the process for his slashing is weird and probably not good, the fact that like he is very good at the floaters and the shots that he does settle for, is at least worth something to me, because if he can kind of improve his process, I think that opens the path for some scoring versatility down the line, which I think is pretty rare for guys in his progression archetype. So that's it's like a silver lining type of approach to his process, which I tend to take in my evaluation of Henry, because I do think it's very.
Francis notes that he's really uncomfortable dribbling, and he seems like he takes he chooses his routes by what requires the least amount of actual dribbling time, and that really scans with what I'm seeing. It's just like he's really trying to minimize the amount of stuff like that he has to do on a possession by possession basis.
Right. I just feel like in transition too, like we saw a bunch of clips of him, getting the ball off the rebound and just pushing it. But I feel like he's kind of hesitant to really kind of like use his dribble a lot as far as like breaking guys down off the dribble. But if he's in the pick and roll, like he's good at getting guys in jail, putting him on his back, righty, lefty floater, mid range even too. But I just feel like at the next level, he's going to have to be more comfortable shooting the ball and then also, using his dribble to his advantage.
I mean, yeah, it seems like he's comfortable handling in a certain hip level or hand level. Like he's in a straight line, he's good. In transition, he's good. He's good in jail. But when it's like when you have to do multiple different, types of dribbling, like different, theaters of dribbling, I guess, within a possession, that's where like the alarm bells start to go off, and he's just like, let me get out of here, whether it's a layup, whether it's pull up.
Right.
It seems like that change in dribbling terrain really messes with him.
Right.
Which like is fine for his archetype, but it is an interesting thing that like he is a third-year college player who still like struggles to impose his will on lesser physical like wing defenders, even though like you don't necessarily need to have a fantastic handle to do that, just knowing how to leverage it and having comfort with it. So it's an that's what makes him such an interesting prospect. Is like, do you believe you can fix that stuff? Because if so, like, man, is he a fascinating wing project?
Right. Especially too when you kind of factor in like what he's good at. I mean, to me, I think he has an argument for being one of the better perimeter defenders in the class, as far as guarding ones, twos, threes, maybe even fours, because he's that strong. Like we saw like in the tournament, he guarded, guys who were. You said you think he's the best?
Him or Springer, but the size probably gives him, at least we're talking about right now. Yeah, I think so.
Right. Yeah, I just think we saw in the playoffs too, like a bunch of guys who were 6'6". Like you saw Bridges, obviously he's a little taller than him, but just as far as just that baseline of height, strength, and wingspan, I just feel like that's a nice baseline that he has to work off of. And to me, I don't think he's going to go in the first round. I personally have him as a top 30 player in the class, just for banking on the shooting improvement, the elite defense, and the playmaking. I just feel like a guy who could dribble, pass, and then the shot is probably the translating skill. To me, I kind of buy that. But just as far as him, all around, guarding bigger guys, smaller guys, and just having that nice baseline to work off, I feel like he's going to be valuable. I feel he's going to be at least a top 45 pick in the class.
Yeah, I mean, connecting wings is always a difficult thing to get a read on how valuable they are, because different teams will just have wildly different grades on them. It's the thing.
PT, you mentioned earlier about him blowing up a dribble handoff. That's like particular. That's an obvious playoff ability. Like they can do that immediately.
Right.
Like, how effective the Bucks just had guys who did that on Booker. That was one of the reasons they were comfortable playing him straight up a lot, is because they could just interrupt his process enough to like make him use a few more seconds in the shot clock, and then suddenly it's a bad possession. He's taking a fadeaway, and he hits those. That's why they won. They just played Booker. Like they were able to play him straight up, and like I think Aaron Henry is definitely as ready as anyone in this class to do that next year. Which is why like early second round, like the Bucks could take him. Anyone in like 30 to 45 years, I think it'd be a perfect fit for him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Nuggets fan, so if they could get another pick and their defense got exposed in the second round, obviously they didn't have
wings badly, so yeah.
Definitely. Like they didn't have PJ Dozier was out, and who knows if Barnes coming back. But they're like low on wings. So if they could trade, hopefully we could trade maybe pull ball for a second. But if we get a second round pick and put him, on the team with Jokic and some other guys, just feel like he's got some translatable skills. He's very malleable. Like he could, like I said, blow dribble handoffs up, He could also, play good team defense with rotations as well. So I just feel like defense for him, we just saw in the playoffs.
Oh, we're getting some feedback. CT.
I'm
gonna CT. We're getting really bad feedback from you. I don't know what's going on with your mic.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Okay. I just had to plug out the headphones.
Okay. It turned into the nightmare sequence for a moment.
Oh, okay. All right. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries at all. I mean, again, if you are listening,
before we move on with the Nuggets in particular, like I like Duarte a lot. I know they like Duarte. If you're gonna trade up to like 15 to get Duarte, why not just take Aaron Henry?
Yeah,
like 32. Like I think that's just
Henry's just better. Full stop. But yeah.
I would take.
Yeah, I think Duarte is probably a little more likely to be like a creator, but it's not going to be good enough that it matters.
Yeah, I mean, I won't bring up the age because that's just me. But
that's not fair. Duarte had he was another of those guys who had kind of a weird.
Yes.
It wasn't like he was a fifth-year college player, like at Oregon, so.
No,
right.
he had the weird first year from JUCO where he the only time he didn't ever shoot to his level. Because I honestly think he's a better shooter than his numbers, but I still would probably lean Aaron Henry if considering value plays. Are we good on Aaron? Are we ready to move into 6-foot Sharif Cooper?
Yep, I think we're all good.
Okay. So Brian, let's talk about the 5 things with Sharif Cooper.
I don't know if I have 5 things. It's weird because he's a very divisive prospect for obvious reasons. But it's really just it's not even so much can he shoot, it's will it keep working? Is my real will his thing keep working in the NBA? Because it worked in the SEC. He was not very, very rarely was he ever stopped by anyone. He got in the paint at will. That's really the 5 things with him is can he still get into the paint? You have to have confidence in the shot. He shot better in AAU. The free throw is good. He's got some of that weird floater. I think we have one in here. I don't know if I like it. I don't know how viable it is. Because he's not going to be a good defender. Even though I think Sharif's defense, I think he mostly does the right thing. He just is too small for it to really matter. It's really just shooting. I guess the other real question is, and it's the real reason why I think he's one of the hardest guys to mock in this class. It's because it's if he goes to the Knicks and they don't get Kyle Lowry or somebody, there's an obvious role for him. But if he goes to the Pacers or somebody, is he going to get the ball enough? I guess you make him the second unit point guard, but does that first contract, does that team who drafts him and makes him the backup point guard, did they get the version of Sharif that I think exists and that a lot of other people think exists? So it's really the question for me is what does his first contract look like? And that's a question for a lot of point guard. Jared Butler may be the kind of guy who could handle that kind of usage, but he's not going to get it unless he goes to the Knicks or the Bulls. That's really the question for me. It's all about because the strengths and weaknesses of Sharif are so far apart. The strengths are so strong. He's the best. Not only is he the best passer in this class, he may be one of the best passers that's ever come through the draft process. And it's all very specific little micro skills he has that I've never seen before. And the shot is the shot. If he shoots I think we all agree. If he's an actual pull-up shooter, then he's a all-star probably. But if he doesn't, then he's just a weirdo. But that's always fun. You like having weirdos around. So yeah, I don't know if I have 5 concrete things for Sharif. It's really just I guess shooting development, but it already looks like it's moving along. Fit / first contract, and then just does the stick keep working? Does it in his weird way? I'm not as big of a soccer fan as a lot of people. He is kind of where you have a guy who lights up lower levels, and you're well, does it work? Will it work if he goes to the Premier League? And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. There's really no way to tell
unless you try it. Until
somebody gets. I really, really hope he goes somewhere that's just going to give him the ball. and we'll see.
I think you kind of have to. Like, I don't think that. I think that there are archetypes of guys that like teams will take just because they're like, sure, like this makes sense. But there's also like an archetype that I think that me and you specifically are attracted to is guys like you kind of can't take them on a sure. You either are all the way in or you're all the way out. Like,
you're not drafting him, and I say this as possibly the biggest Monte Morris fan on the internet. You're not drafting him to have him be like, oh, he's like not Tyus Jones. He's not gonna come in and run your second unit and like not make mistakes. You're not drafting Sharif to make him just like a stopgap 15-minute a game point guard. Like that's just a huge waste of his skill set.
mm-hmm.
And it's really just because I think you and I think most people would agree. I have no questions about Sharif's personality or like his wiring.
Oh no, Sharif is a turbo winner.
Yeah, so he's gonna mold. I'm really just if he goes, I really want like Knicks fit. The Hawks is a weird one because I think you could actually get a lot out of him there, but they definitely would be he wouldn't be there for the second contract. It's really like any team that just doesn't have a guy.
Yeah.
Who's the guy? And the Knicks, I think they proved in the playoffs, as good as Barrett and Randall have been, they don't have a guy like who sets the tone, who you give the ball to make decisions to. This is why I really maybe part of my extreme positivity on Sharif is that he's exactly who the Bulls need and have needed for this entire rebuild.
I have one that's probably like too. It is definitely too rich for many people's blood. But
The Orlando Magic.
No, it's even higher than that. The Toronto Raptors.
Yeah. Rockets would be an interesting one too. If he gets into that, they have those 2 picks in the 20s. Absolutely take him.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much to talk about, and I'm very excited to get into it. Do you want me to lead, or would you like to walk through it?
We can do either one. I don't care.
Okay.
I don't have a preference.
Okay, not a problem because I know this is the game that we are watching for Sharif is Auburn, Arkansas, which was a truly wild one.
Yeah. It's great. It's kind of a mid-Sharif game, like we said. Like it's not the Alabama game is probably honestly still it was his first game against the best team in the SEC. And look at this. This is great. I love this whole sequence. I remember this really standing out when I watched that game. Hey, that's not his fault. That transition defense is not his fault at all. No. But yeah, I was a big fan of like the willingness to throw lobs is a weird skill to praise someone for, but it's absolutely like he's aiming for that immediately. Right here, he knows what he wants.
Yep. And the weight he puts on this. The weight he puts on this is like that is the hardest thing because like you could throw that lob a number of different ways. Sure, it doesn't go down, but that's not his fault.
That's not his fault in any way. No.
But he puts the perfect weight on it, and I think that like something that people who may not have dunked before don't understand is that like most lob catchers are preparing for terrible passes, and it can be a surprise when someone puts one directly on the money. You're like, oh, I was expecting to have to like freak this a little bit to figure it out. And you just always have.
I also this right here is the Sharif special that happened probably 5 or 6 times during the season where they would show someone on the other team from the baseline cam like coming back, and then they panic and cut right back to him already in the paint. Go back to that real quick because that 1-on-4, like there are problems. His finishing, he's so small.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not that worried about his finishing in the NBA context because I mean, look at this right here.
I'll freeze it.
I can almost guarantee you maybe in transition he will not see this kind of congestion in the NBA. Like he's not going to have 4 guys to go around. But look at who is one? Is one Tate on Arkansas? I forget.
Yes.
But like Jalen Tate is much bigger than him. Look how he just barrels through him. He's gone.
Yeah. Also, like
Vanover's in terrible position, so that's actually fairly
Sharif
easy
is like a true bully guard, which is
you don't. I think that he is sort of that category of dudes who like don't look strong, but like you just can't take positions from him. I
will not make this comparison for the rest of the time. That's Chris Paul. Chris Paul has that kind of strength.
Yeah, I didn't want to say it because it is a biasing idea, but like
that is the thing that's the only
Isaiah
way I'm
Thomas
gonna
was
compare him.
similar, where it's just like,
Yeah.
like he's like there's not really an explanation. It defies the laws of what we understand about physical development. But there's dudes who just like, yeah, he's 150 pounds, but for some reason, he is as strong as a dude who like weighs 220. That's just that he has that. It's a fulcrum thing. It's a number of weird stuff. But like people just don't take spots from him. He again is proselytizing for dead floaters. Again, he's smaller, but I love dead floaters because like Vanover wants this, like he really wants this block. And like that's just a thing that he has been able to get in previous places, and Sharif just stops short, pops it easy. I mean, he also wants this lob.
Yeah, that's the thing. He wants the lob. That's why Sharif, he wants that lob every time. I want him to take that shot more. This one I love. We'll see it again. I love that was like a panic lob. It's also, if you look back at it, it's like a perfectly placed lob. It's just the guy didn't jump. Yeah. And so he manages to get the play back. But this is, I think, the same play that he uses the threat of that lob again. Yep. Perfect. Nobody does that. Like Trey does that, maybe. But even that, Trey gets deeper. That's the real differentiator between me for them. Is that Trey does a lot of those kind of passes, but he waits till he's like in the circle. Mm-hmm. Just like, look at this lob. Perfect. If he jumped, he would have dunked it.
It's so clear that it's so clear he played with Isaac Okoro. Like, because Isaac 100% jumps to that. And it's just like you can see that like their developments are so intertwined, because like when you watch one without the other, you're like, oh, that's where that comes from. Oh, okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Because like Isaac is always looking for lobs, and like even the guards that they have in Cleveland are just like not wired to throw them all the time. And Sharif's just like, yeah, go get it.
There's a big difference between Sharif and Garland for me. Is that Garland? I need Garland to be more like a game-breaking passer. He's a good passer, but he doesn't leverage it enough, I feel like. And he's not come along as a shooter. I still believe in Garland a lot, but
love his handle.
At least until they still have, while they still have Sexton, like he needs to be more of this kind of style player.
Yeah. So there's him
losing his dribble for the first time in his life, I imagine.
No, that's just a hezzy that he wanted that pull up really bad, and he just like the guy bit on it, but he didn't bite on it hard enough. He was trying to go hezzy, and then it was either going to be T-Mac and go, and he's just like right there's the hezzy. That was going to be a T-Mac. Just pop it out.
He still loses. He loses it out of his hand there off his thumb, which doesn't happen very often with Sharif. But this is nice. The stuff we've seen in the pre-draft workouts, he's not leaning back nearly as far, and I think that's just going to help a lot of his misses are forward back misses. Like his touch, his general aim as a shooter is fine. Nothing wrong with it. It's not like elite, but
I mean,
it's not as good as somebody else we may be watching soon, but it's still like he should be able to shoot. It's just his upper body is so
it's compacted.
Not right. Yeah, it's not. It's a lot of effort to get the shots out.
We've talked about this before, but it's the jumper of somebody who's played up a whole bunch. This is the jumper of somebody who had to win games in 6th grade. Like that's like he's never had a summer to really rebuild it. You can see that the elbow collapses down. He's pushing it. Like this is, you know who else's jumper looks like this? LaMelo's.
Yeah,
and like it worked better. When they were like, okay, we can rebuild. We don't care about makes misses. Like it's fine. Like Melo's jumper had a lot more broken. But like it's the same thing of like this is what happens when you like are a winner guy, and then eventually you get to a level where you're like, oh, I'm strong enough now. Like we can just do this.
It's one of the reasons I'm actually fairly optimistic about his shooting is that like it's not like he's a guy who has a great form who just misses. It's like there's a lot to work with. Like Chip Engelland could have a field day with him. This is a bad play.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing like this is where his defense. He didn't do this that much, but he did just sometimes give up on plays, and that's like you can't do that at that size. You cannot.
He tried to play 4-dimensional chess here.
Yeah,
and then just like gets got because he wants to run him up and then like try to get the like rip steal whether you're like your shoulder to shoulder, or chest.
I do like him not even trying to stay on Vanover because he's like, what is he gonna do? They pass it back, he's just gonna shoot. That's all he can do. Guys of 14 inches taller than you are. Yeah, that's the stuff that like, his defense, and I think that got better.
Yeah, I wish we had. I mean, again,
like that was more of the exception than like what always happened, which was a pleasant surprise because it matters for Sharif being just normal bad rather than Trey level bad as a defender.
Or like rookie Trey level bad.
Yeah,
which is kind of what a lot of people expected.
Yeah, I love this. This is great. this ranks pretty high on the Shea scale for me of just like leveraging your body to get through impossible spaces, and then making that pass. That was a pass to Devin Cambridge. I think that was actually a missed pass.
Yeah,
which is rare. He didn't miss that many, but then that shot looked better. He still leans back too far, but
again, my general opinion on shots is that most of them are fixable. Like just like the history of people who like have like truly broken shots. It's not about the form; it's about the underlying.
Pause
stuff.
this one when he comes around where Cambridge is right now.
Okay, what do you say at the screen?
Yeah, right when he gets past the screen, right here. Look at that step.
Yeah.
Look at that inset. That's frightening. Like you're not supposed to be able to do that.
And I think this is going to be a Smitty too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that he's going to.
He does this on every possession where he just because again the burst is very very good. I don't think you would even like you could argue Davion Mitchell has. I think you could argue successfully that he is he's burstier than Sharif, and then he'll be like a 75th 80th percentile like straight line speed guy in the NBA. But the craft, the ability to keep his dribble is.
I mean, we've all seen the clip where he steals the between the legs, basically. Like a kid reaches and he just puts it between the legs and like has time to look at the kid and be like, "You shouldn't have done that," and then lay it in. Like Sharif's, it's not that his handle is very good, his quickness is very good, but it's the intersection of that with craft and that he plays exactly like Sharif in the way like I was trying to explain Melo's handle to people. Where it's like, no, he plays like Melo, and it's really really hard to understand how he plays. So defenders just don't know how to cover him. And so it's like, he has like this weird funky bend. He takes these like long strides. He has great flexibility in air. It's like he unsettles you with his unique timing. And then you have to worry about like long arms and his ability to understand angles. And Sharif is that, but he also does it with like the Speedy Gonzalez legs. But just like he steals steps, or like you don't realize that he's going to take like little pitter patters to set up a change of direction. And like for a lot of guys, you just look at their feet and you know their timing, especially like smaller guards are going to just like hit you with that hard change of direction. You know they're going to plant, and like Sharif is so good at phantoming, like so he'll hop and then like hop into split feet, and so you're thinking it's going to be a cross, then he'll pitter patter and then he'll cross, and he unsettles you with the way that he moves, and it allows him to like mix dudes that like are the same size as him. Oftentimes you'll see guards that like the most damage they do is against big guys, like Chris Paul, pretty famous for this. Like he'll mix the occasional guard, but like what really happens is if you put a big guy on Chris Paul, he just real damage. There is
that 2 or 3 minute sequence in the Missouri game where they put this big 7'2" guy out there and Sharif. It was like comical.
God, that was just a crime. Yeah,
but like he should not have been able to get the baseline here. The only reason this is a turnover is because Moses Moody shows up.
Yeah,
and we just talked about. Like that would have been in the open corner 3 if Moody had been in a different spot. I love this one too. Yeah,
this one's a good example of his. This one is just a real. I'm really attempting not to swear. Real basketball fun stuff. Where it's just like I've seen this play so many times, and people are so worried about like the weirdo gravity I have, or they know I will try anything. So like I pump fake an entry pass without really like trying to get out in front of it. He just does it with his shoulders and a little bit of the ball.
The thing is, because you have to play for that because he did that. At this point, he's done that like 5 or 6 times already in like 3 games. Like and then here's a good example of his strength of just like not at all affected by 2 guys contesting him.
Can we?
I'm also a big fan of that. I call that the sling layup. I've seen a few guys do that, where it's like if you know you're not gonna be able to finish with your left, if you can get back to your right. Mm-hmm. And just put it right on the glass like Tim Duncan it, like you know where it's gonna go in. That's 100% conversion rate on that shot.
I've always called that like a tank, where you put your 2 elbows high and you put the ball kind of like almost behind your head, like you're trying to back scratcher it, but you're really kind of it's just above the back of your head, and that allows you to like absorb any contact, and also like nobody is trying to eat 2 elbows to the face. And refs don't call it if you just put the elbows high.
Yeah, that's another. That's not just a Chris Paul only thing. Actually, but Sharif is very willing to hit people who are in his way. Like he'll give you those little elbows. He likes putting his foot. I've seen him when he gets the edge on somebody, put his heel on their heel basically, and be like, if you try and turn, you're gonna roll your ankle. So like you have to let me go through. That's a fun one. He did that to Jordan, but he did that to Severe Wheeler a couple times.
Yeah, and yes, I am reading the chat. I do have it open.
To neutralize Severe Wheeler being probably faster than he is, but yeah.
I just want to point out, like, look at the footwork on the second between the legs. Like, there's no hint that he's going to hit the gas. Where everybody else would sell that with like a hard plant, outwards to look middle. He just sort of like lulls it to sleep. And then like there's just so much weird craft in how he approaches things, and like the timing is very difficult to deal with. Like, he's still going to have issues. It's worth noting that like he had a 55% free throw rate in the SEC, weighing like 111 pounds.
Yeah, the only other player on record which is go back to 2008 for Bart, who had a 50 free throw rate and a 50 assist rate, was John Morant. And I would argue that those both could have been a lot higher. Like, he had a lot of like that missed lob. Like, that's a not normal miss. And then also, like, I don't think he got the calls he should have, especially after that Missouri game when he had the 20-something free throw attempts. He was getting walloped. But there's the real concern with him defensively for me, is that like this is everything he does here is correct and it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
like he's in the right spot the whole time, and he's just too small.
Yeah, and like you kind of can't like Auburn does the Auburn thing where they're just like, oh, we'll just like soft switch this. And give you a wall of dudes who love the weight room. And like that generally works all the time, but like it's pretty easy to find the weak link of the chain with Sharif on there. Like that strategy only works. Like if you if you had Suggs or Springer there, like this possession goes absolutely nowhere.
Springer there, that's a block.
Yeah, but I just mean like it's very easy to hunt the guy who literally cannot vertically contest.
Yeah.
Even if you're not like running the action at him, just like running a 45.
And that is again that is something the Bucks did a lot with Chris Paul, where it was like it doesn't really matter. I actually like this. I liked all these little step back.
Yes, this
is one where like this is exactly like it's just too like he just puts too much into it. It's just way too far.
Also, just trying to think of guys I've seen that have gone between the legs, Smitty pull up 3, and the list is really short.
Yeah,
and like on it is DJ Wagner. It's like 5 dudes. That is not a move that teenagers are generally comfortable doing.
This is wild. That's creating something out of nothing. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Go back and watch it. Let's watch this one slow. Like there's nothing right here. There is basically nothing. And then right here, there's something. Like it's just 2 seconds, but it's a small thing. That's actually a bad pass by Sharif standards too. Even though I think he meant to do it. I don't think he meant to do it. I think
it slips when he goes over his head or he gets like bumped a little bit. I mean, like the thing is that there's multiple ways of looking at how he, like, I think that a difference between how we're looking at things and how other people are looking at it is like, and I've had this idea before from people is like, well, according to the heuristic, like these aren't easy layups. He's like contorting. It's like, no, but looking at shot quality, like he's getting a pretty uncontested look at the rim, like in the half court out of double drag. It's not like show me the easy looks in the half court. It's like in the SEC where everyone knows what's happening. He's basically going, I'm going to beat you right there. Like it's not like Larry Bird Olympic trials level, but like, where it's going to happen. You just don't know how he's going to get there. And he's still finishing over, I would say, dudes that are like, he's finishing over like real dudes.
Yeah.
It's impressive considering that it's going to get easier from here if he's adding more.
Yeah, it's easier. I mean, the finishing, like the Isaiah Jackson, the second Kentucky game was the real negative Sharif game because he took on a lot of those spots and Isaiah Jackson just took it, like just stopped him every time. And Jalen Williams got him a few times, like, when you got the guys with a real legit length. But that's the thing about those guys is like, Nerlens Noel is still in the NBA because you don't finish over him like that. Like if you go for those little floaters, he just takes it. Like there's just going to be guys who do that. Like there's nothing. This is a weird, like it's not letting perfect be the enemy good, but it's the same thing when people talk about like, well, Evan Mobley is not going to be able to guard Joel Embiid. And it's like, okay. I'm not drafting someone because they can't do that. Like I'm not drafting Sharif because he's not going to be able to score through Rudy Gobert. It's like nobody does that.
Yeah, it's like it's like taking somebody and saying, "Oh, will they be able to close out to Steph Curry on an X out?" It's like nobody can. There's just not a person in the world who can close out successfully on Steph Curry.
The other thing is too is people don't want to really talk about if Sharif is getting consistently like play by play, getting to the position where Rudy Gobert or Nerlens Noel are having to come up to him, then you're going to get good shots out of it. He's going to find the good shots.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just you're playing a mathematics game. If you touch the paint 40 times in a game, you're going to get 6 fouls.
Yeah,
like that's just how NBA rules work.
Yeah, he's probably the best at just touching the paint of any guard. Since I've been doing this, which is 4 drafts now, I think he's pretty easily the best at just making sure he gets into the paint.
Yeah, I mean, Jaw's pretty close, but I also like. I don't know how much of Jaw is slated by like that Florida State game, and like not that the conference was like bad, but like I'm gonna be real with you, like doing this in the SEC is like scary. Like Jaw might have done something similar in the SEC, but like he didn't. Like he wasn't playing in the SEC. He was.
Jaw is probably. So, I guess Jaw is. This is gonna be a strange. This is gonna be a strange cross sport comp. It's like Fernando Tatis and Juan Soto, where it's like Ja does it the way you think 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds do it, where it's just speed. And he's not great craft, but he's just like, I'm way too fast for you. Whereas like that's what Fernando Tatis is. Fernando Tatis is a 21-year-old superstar in the NBA and in Major League Baseball who just like runs hard, hits a lot of home runs, dives around, and like plays like a crazy person. Whereas like Sharif doesn't do it. Like Sharif just does it consistently, mechanically, like robotically, just breaks you down. And it's like that's not how you're supposed to do that. Like when you think of a jitterbug guard like Shabazz Napier type, DJ Augustine, like those guys are. DJ Augustine's actually not bad, but you think they're just speed. Ish Smith is the guy you think of. Like Ish Smith has had a career because he can do that, but that's not how Sharif does it at all. It's just so different.
I mean, DJ is the only one that I've really seen, and like DJ's a junior in high school. Like I just came back from EYBL, and like DJ touched the paint literally whenever he wanted to.
Yeah,
and it's just like, what is he doing different? It's like honestly, like if you went by the moves, it's not that different. Like the difference between him and other like top 10, top 5 point guards is just like he just understands the angles and timing and body positioning better. And
there's a few more Sharif plays like that fake when he faked it in that floater that he does. He has one I think against Alabama where he kind of looks up. He like looks up towards the rim and 2 guys jump and he just like in the same motion like uses his he's in the air and he just kind of comes down and fires a bounce pass under between somebody's right behind somebody's legs.
Missouri too.
Yes, Missouri did a bunch of those. But those are just different passes. He does the thing. I noticed this pretty early on. When he throws a pass to the rim for somebody, he changes the kind of pass it is. If it was Thor or Flanagan or Devin Cambridge, he's throwing it above the rim. But if it was like one like Williams or who's the other big guy they had, he doesn't throw above the rim. He throws it up to the rim. Like it's like a rising fastball that goes up right to the rim, so it's just all you have to do is catch it and finish it. It's just different. Like he throws different passes for different players, and these are guys he hadn't practiced with. He was doing this in the first game. Like
that's the other thing about him is he wasn't allowed to practice with that team for 4 months, and then he showed up and immediately knew everything. Knew where everyone was going. It's just different. He's just wired in a different way from most guard prospects.
I have a general question about Sharif. Like how high would you take him in this draft? Is like top 10? You think that's?
I would take him with that second Magic pick for sure.
Yeah, me too.
Number 8.
Mainly
yeah,
because I like the Warriors don't make like he wouldn't have the ball with them. There's no real use for them. So like, yeah, I think the most realistic pick is that second Magic pick, which is the Bulls pick, which makes me hate that trade now.
I would probably I might get institutionalized for saying how high for I would strongly consider it.
Yeah. I mean, they probably like Suggs more, I would imagine, but I don't know if they're going to keep that pick. That's the real thing. I have not been considering that pick locked in at all.
I get that. I'm just saying that's my line of like, that's when the consideration begins. Other people trading up, we can talk about potentially higher numbers, but of the order right now.
Yeah, I'd be happy with Sharif with the first Magic pick. I agree.
It's pretty difficult to Like if you are of the draft philosophy that like there are 20 something NBA players and like 3 or 4 of them turn out like to be really good every year, like with every few years you have like 1 or 2 great ones. You're just trying to bet on special, and like if you think
Which is not this year, by the way.
yeah, I'm just speaking as a general mathematic principle. Like Sharif has a thing that is special. He has probably 2 or 3 things that are special. So it's like, look, if you want to say like there are many players who have very good and that's safer, and safe generally does keep your job. But if you want to get a little spicy, I can hear some very high numbers for Sharif.
Actually, you know what? I might consider like, what is Oklahoma City doing with that pick? Are they going to take Kuminga? I would rather take Sharif. I don't think that's the fit is as obvious, because I think you want Shea having the ball.
I mean,
when Shea is on the floor, he should have the ball every single possession. But
I really think it is potentially time to wonder if Shea may not like. I think it may be time to wonder if it's not that Oklahoma City is the one spreading the Shea rumors.
Yeah, I mean, especially if they take Knight next to him, because that's seeming like a possibility now.
I mean, I think that they're locked in on 2023. I think that is the only thing Sam Presti thinks about. If I were just to look at the moves that they're making and look at the way that these leagues are coming out, just my interpretation. I mean, I also watched U19 FIBA, so I clearly do have a bias. But
the big Imani Bates guys is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're huge Juan Nunez fans. Peyton Watson defensive highlights. They loved him. I loved him. Let's lock it in.
Okay. I mean, we talked about when we did that. We asked the question like, how many picks would it take to get Wemby? And Sam Presti is like, bet.
Yeah, Sam Presti
will be 25 picks. Let's do it.
Sam Presti took the number 8 and then turned it sideways. I was like, yeah, no problem. Do we have any other questions or considerations for Sharif? Any thoughts before we move on to Bones? I would like to talk about Sharif forever, and I might do an overflow stream later. As long as there's coffee in me, I can talk about great passers. That is just a truth of my life, unfortunately. But do we have any considerations, thoughts, people who would like to call us crazy for talking about Sharif single digits?
I'll just say that Sharif at Missouri game was probably the best prospect game I saw all season. She brutalized that team. It was really bad.
Yeah, if
and that's a team that has a very, very good guard defender too. Like Drew Smith was there, it just didn't matter.
Drew Smith is good. Mark Smith can defend guards. They just run a tight defensive scheme in terms of paint touches too, and like it just didn't matter. Like Sharif just murdered their bigs every time and drop. They kept trying to run their very large, not very good freshman center Jordan Wilmore and drop against Sharif, and like to me that is cruel and unusual punishment because it was not good. He got to the free throw line or the rim or a kick out or a lob every single time, and it was brutal.
That is one of my favorite games too because he adjusted to the way they were playing defense very quickly, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna try and hand check me? Then I'm going like you were going to foul out. Sorry." Like he didn't do that against Alabama. He didn't do that. He tried to do that against Baylor, but Baylor doesn't fall for that. Although he did make Davion look like an absolute fool on that early. There was an early transition possession where Davion tried to crowd him when he got to the 3-point line. He tried to rush him, and Sharif did a left-right spin past him and then switched hands mid-spin and then threw a lob to somebody.
Yeah, I love how Sharif...
Davion just stood there like, oh, okay.
I think like the stuff that Sharif does, like despite it just being so cool, like has the quality of completely demoralizing his opponents. Just like how on earth did you do that? Like, why on earth would you try that? And how did you get it to work? And I no longer want to play this sport anymore. Like, I think the next guy, my guy, does a similar thing, but in a different way, which we'll talk about. But
yeah, we will. Another extremely strange basketballer, in a good way.
In a very good way.
Are we good to move on from Sharif?
Unfortunately.
Sadly.
Yeah, I mean, we've done our best. We've got a comprehensive one. Ben, tell me the 5 evaluation critical points for Bones Island.
All right. So the first one, the big overarching thing, and the big macro case for Bones is shooting plus rim pressure. It's a good thing. It's a rare combination to find it in as strong a magnitude as Bones HYLAND exhibits it, which is kind of a crazy thing to say given what he did as a freshman in terms of his rim pressure. But this, yeah, 10 free throw rate, never got to the rim, didn't finish. But yeah, and this year it was like I think like 20, 25 free throw rate. Oh wait, no, 32. It's right in front of me. Wow, even better than that. Like better at the rim. So many rim attempts per game. It's really rare. And then my second point is weighing his slashing, his craft versus his physical tools in terms of finishing and subsequent steps. Because as I mentioned, his first step is game breaking at times, but the subsequent steps and what happens after the initial burst, that's going to be a game of how much can he compensate for his lack of tools with his great craft, and how does that change as he ages and develops. Number 3, as we continue to tie in, is rim pressure and shooting gravity aiding passing development. I think Bones' biggest macro offensive weakness, aside from the tools, is that he just really isn't a good passer at this point, especially given the gravity he has. But as we will see in the game in the clips, because of how overwhelming the overwhelming number of resources defenses have to commit to him in basically every aspect of his shot creation, I think there's gonna be more room for him to develop as a passer and see those reps. So to what extent he can develop that is key. Number 4, simply defense. He's got to try. Bones to me had the worst defensive tape of any prospect I watched this year. I'm not so he's definitely not the worst defensive prospect, but just like of the tape, because he doesn't actually try. This game I actually picked was probably like a better than normal game, even though it was pretty bad. But just to what extent does he clean that up? And then the 5th one, and maybe the most important ones, is can he shake the nickname? Can he ever get not Bones? Because I think while it's not imperative for his scoring, I think in terms of staying on the floor offensively, actually generating rim pressure, being pushed off his spots, the frame just has to improve. Like it's like small Zaire in so many ways that is not good. So how do we shake that nickname and improve that frame while also preserving his pretty unique mobility and movement skills, which we'll see as well. So those are my 5 points for scouting Bones HYLAND. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's. We've gotten better. I don't want to say better. We've really nailed with the last couple guys. Like I don't have anything to say. I'm like, let's do some discourse, and this I'm like, yep, we got it.
I'll take it.
I will say the difference between Bones and Zaire is flexibility.
Yes, as we'll get to. I have notes on this, but just in terms of like some of the screen stuff we'll see.
Yeah.
And this first play, I want to get into some of his one. You can see the flexibility there if you rewind a little bit. On many instances, his torso is parallel to the floor, and then just like this decel, his balance, finishing craft, using his length to finish. Bones does have, I think, a +6 wingspan at around 6'3" in socks. He's really adept at using that wingspan and that craft to finish. Again, he annihilated Dayton's hard hedge all game. They kept trying to do it because they won't let him shoot, and he's too quick for all of the bigs. This was his best pass of the game. I love the patience there, pacing himself and finding that laydown. That's not something he does very often, unfortunately, but Bones did that well. Defensively, this was, I think, a really good possession from him, which you don't really see, and I think the redeeming quality is, again, that length. He can really force tough decisions as a tag defender, as if you go back there, like really isn't a good pass single for the Dayton ball handler there. Caps it off with a block there as well. But Bones can be really overwhelming there as a defender with his length. I think his steal rate was like 3 point something, which was pretty good. Definitely over-representative of how good he actually is as a defender. But I mean, you can see he really can take away actions with his length, denying the ball there, defending in 2v1. His size helps him defend from disadvantage because he can just cover more court and force tougher decisions. He can be in the range of help while also forcing difficult passing angles. And then while, like the on-ball blocks are nice, I think his lateral movement is okay enough, even if he's a bit stiff in his hips, to where like he can be a fine defender once he tries. This play, again, just so much burst to get around hedges. And if we go back there, I want to point out the last steps here. Bones loves his slow, exaggerated last steps. He's so crafty with slowing his momentum. His change of speeds on drives, considering how strong and overwhelming his burst is really, really impressive. Bones can go from like 0 to 60 and 60 to 0, and that's just such a key thing for all small guards. You just watch him slow down. He unfortunately can't finish over that big because, like I said, balance and craft burst tools. He cannot jump, and he is incredibly weak. So despite the craft and the touch here, Bones is going to struggle. Watch him easily discard that hedging big with his off arm. Beautiful. Even though that's a pretty decent look, he's going to struggle with those in the league mightily, and especially when athletes get better and he's not as able to get those looks off clean. And what we all know about Bones and love about Bones is the shooting, which is truly game breaking. That is like the demoralizing, like, what do I do point about Bones. He has no limit to his range, no limit to the shots he will try and take and hit, and it can be outright demoralizing. Bones does not care about who you are or where he is. He will shoot the ball, and that is a trait of Bones I love. Here, just the burst on display, quick 1-2 crossover. I really think Bones is going to be super effective in early offense when defenses aren't totally set, because he is willing, especially with the shooting, because you have to play him a different way when you know he's going to pull from 37 feet. So,
not an exaggeration.
Yes, no, not exactly. I mean, not at all. So Bones again, you just have to, you have to play him a certain way, and that opens up advantages, especially in early offenses when it's way harder. So if you can go back to that last clip, which I didn't get a chance to explain because I was raving about Bones shooting, which we will do. I think I want to highlight again, like, just watch the slashing craft, watch his parallel torso, watch his subsequent steps, watch his right arm discarding. And because of that, even when he can't win with sheer burst, he's able to generate leverage and get to decent spots. The result of the play is just kind of whatever. I would like to see him do that float a little more, but again, I just want to focus on how he's able to get to spots in alternative ways than burst, despite his real lack of physical tools elsewhere, which again is a really positive thing to me for his future slashing. I think this is a bad gamble, I believe, as Bones is very gamble heavy as a defender. Bad gamble, terrible closeout, open layup right there. That's just not a play that Bones can afford to do regularly. He is such a gamble heavy defender at this point, and I definitely think that's always going to be somewhat of his niche as an NBA defender, because of the length, because of the potential for highlight stocks and those more splashy impact plays. But you definitely want to see him mix in way more just simple rotations, sound closeouts, where he's not lunging or taking erroneous steps in the wrong direction, which he does so often. So yeah, just a lot to clean up defensively. I didn't include as many defensive clips as I wanted to. There were so many bad ones in this game.
Yeah, I mean,
again,
the shooting range and the defense are neither are exaggerations. Like, it's both are legitimately that extreme.
Yeah, and I didn't include, like, I tried to include more of the other stuff just because I think it's, that's more instructive, because it's easy. Like, the shooting is the best, the defense is the worst. To go back to that last play, I think his shot versatility also such a key component of shooting protection that I stood out. Love how easy his shot prep is there. Definitely more of a 1-2 shooter off movement, which works for him. I do worry a little bit about his lower body stability, because he can compress a bit much for my liking, just because of how weak he is in his core and his lower body there. But I mean, it's not a huge concern. Like, I have almost zero worry about Bones' shot.
I think that's an understatement. But yeah, I mean, the defense is just, it's really rough, and I feel like all of the reasons he's good on offense, his movement skills work against him on defense, because he just can't hold spots. on defense.
Yeah, he's just really stiff in his hips, and like that like the torso flexibility doesn't matter as much on defense. This one is just like, this is just the lull one, I think. Oh wait, no. What goes on here? I don't remember. This was a missed pocket pass as well.
Yeah.
Just an example of Bones really lacking the high level passing vision to hit those passes, and necessarily the comfortability in his handle. I think his handle is definitely more built for scoring than passing, as kind of just like slinking around defenders rather than really pacing and setting up passes.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is that he doesn't he likes to, handle outside of his body. Like he's very wide, but he doesn't necessarily have the corresponding passes. Like it's not, hook passes. It's not like these
he's
little
not throwing
scoops.
Skip passes or lay downs like that.
Yeah, but I think that like it will pair well with how his handle works. Like those would be what he needs to add more than like the functional like 2-hand or like 1-hand push passes. It's just like these passes at extremis.
If we can go back to the last pull up before we unfortunately watch this next clip, I do love that. I think Bones alters his release based on the type of shot he's taking, which is a trait of all great shooters. I think of CJ McCollum as someone who does this as well. Notably, Bones will raise his pull up height, especially on those shorter mid ranges when he needs to get over defenders. I think he speeds up his release in terms of those forward momentum pull-ups. Just another notch in his shooting hat. This one, like, why would you clap? Like, I don't know why he claps. This just makes the ensuing destruction worse. If you throw a screen at Bones, the possession's going to end.
Yeah.
I don't know what much more to say about that one. That happened to Zaire all season. That happened to Bones all season. It's going to be a huge problem because even if Bones is generating advantages on defense with his length, you throw a screen at him and he dies.
Yeah, I mean, if we're guys who struggle with like explosion through their hips, which is like necessary to get skinny, like people think like, oh, you just like turn your body. It's like, no, that'll get your legs blown out from underneath you, and like you're laying on the ground with like a really bad hip bruise. You have to like lunge through that, like sci-fi style, like slowly closing doors, or else a very large man hits you as hard as humanly possible. And he just like he struggles to make that specific thing happen to like explode through spaces.
That last play, I think
you want me to run it back?
Yeah, sure. That last play was an example of the gravity opening up passes. As like I said, this game, like he just shredded that hard hedge. I think he notices this time he can't get by with burst, so he patiently brings it out and finds wide open popper. Shout out to Vince Williams, super fun, and I'm pretty sure Brian will enjoy that too. But
I said shut up. I already said shut up. It's Williams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thoughts on Bones, concerns on Bones, superlatives on Bones. I think people know where I am on his shooting ability, and why shooting versatility is probably an under-discussed general point when discussing shooters. But
I have Bones as the best shooter in this class.
Yeah,
I think there are other guys who you can argue for. I think like Hauser is underrated in this discussion. But just considering age and versatility and volume and all the indicators that we value, like there's just nobody else. Like he is so game breaking as a pull-up shooter, as an off-ball shooter. I think that just opens up his role construction, because even if he's not this on-ball creator, which is why I have him as high as I do, which is I think a team would be fine to take him in the lottery. Even if like he's just never strong enough to make the most out of his rim pressure, and he can't finish at all, and he's not able to develop any of the passing reads, like attacking closeouts, hitting off movement and catching shoot threes. Like there's value there because of how good of a shooter he is. Like for a guy like Trey Mann, who is like a similar prospect to Bones in terms of like creation upside limited, like he's just not that level of shooter that Bones is, and which is why I don't believe in him as much as like an ancillary role. Because if Trey isn't working as a creator, I just don't think like a non-defensive, non-huge off-ball shooter is that valuable. But because Bones is just that special of a shooter, to me he works even in a more limited role if he fails to hit his ceiling. So I mean, Bones is so worth it.
Yep. There is a comment from Max Love about wanting to see him on the Lakers, and the idea of him and Taylor Horton Tucker, like the two opposite ends of the wing spectrum, who have like insane flexibility, but just like one is sort of like hurly burly, the other one is basically as skinny as possible.
Yeah.
Ray, I wish that we could play the Philly video, but unfortunately, I can probably do that right before we get out.
That's the best. I was going to say that's the best video to describe. Bones is basically he is something that I don't think anyone else in this class actually is, which is a verifiable street ball legend.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of who would be second,
because that's what he did before he was like a legit prospect. Was he just went out on courts and shot 35 footers on double rims and beat people like 21-0. And that video was one of the great, because he's like, I think he just turned 17 in that video, and he's just like shooting, doing like 5-6 dribble moves into like 29-foot on a double rim, which is I don't know how many people have actually shot on double rims. That's hard to do.
Yeah,
it is unflattering to a jumper.
And Bones does not care. Yeah, his touch is like some of the best I've seen.
I would actually, the only pushback I would have on him being the best shooter is that I think Cade might be.
There's an argument. My concern with Cade is that my concern is that I haven't seen the Montverde sample in full. I've heard about it, but I've never seen every single one of the box scores. It's not that I don't trust it. It's that
Bones' priors are just too strong to me.
Yeah.
Like,
it's really where I'm kind of with Cade is A, the height, and B, him talking about it like, oh, I didn't know how to shoot an arc until I got to Oklahoma State, and it's like, oh yeah, that's okay. Well,
I mean, you could see. I think that some of that might be narrative building, but like, I mean, from the minute I saw the U19 tape, I was like, okay, yeah, he's a shooter. Like, yeah, he shot 10%, but like, there's nothing wrong here. It's just reps. And once he got reps,
I do think he adjusted he's already adjusted his wrist action really well. So I think, like, I don't see any reason Cade's not going to be like 37-38% on like big volume.
Oh, yeah.
I think Cade will be a more consistent shooter than Luka. Although I'm not gonna say better, because Luka will hit
Luka
shots.
I think that I think that's I think you could get very good money on that, and I would suggest you do it, because Luka's best shooting seasons are spoiled by the fact that he also takes like 46 footers for just like because he's mad at a ticky tack foul. Like his Euro foul is a 40 footer. Any other thoughts on Bones?
That's one of the things we can talk about. That's a different discussion entirely. Bones, I think, I think I agree with. It's much easier to see him, like, even worst case, being like kind of what Quickly was this year, of just like the offense is stagnated. Let's bring him in. Like that's why I think the Clippers fit is so good, because it's like he doesn't have to play that much, but immediately you could bring him in like next week and have him be like a legitimate bench scorer. Like,
yeah, I mean, I think he's a better shooter than Quickly.
Yeah, but like I think he could immediately be that, even if he's like, that's what I think that I think is his like his floor. It's like Trey Man's floor is like, I don't want to say out of the league, but like 12.
Pretty much out of the league, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is a strong chance that like Trey Man gets primary shots and that does not work out.
Even if even if Bones doesn't work like that, like he's still going to be valuable. Like,
yeah.
Like the other guards that are in that range is like that's not what Deuce McBride does, so it's not worth comparing them.
Yeah, and also like Deuce is context dependent in a way.
Yeah,
I think he's like
a different kind of player.
Better than Jared Butler. I mean, he's different, but just way more interesting high-end outcomes to me.
Although Jared Butler does have that intersection of being legitimately good at shooting, legitimately good at passing, huge, and like a like high level, like smart and a good dribbler. Like he's just very good at a lot of things. So
Butler's good.
Yeah, this isn't a slam on Butler. And
no,
I don't think that I've had a happier day in the cycle than when he got medically cleared.
I would say that I'm more confident in Jared Butler being a starter for somebody, but I'm much more confident in Bones becoming like the 6th or 7th guy in this class, as far as like.
I would say that I'm more confident. I'm more confident in Butler being a good player, but I would put more money on Bones swinging a playoff series.
High outcomes,
yeah, which is why I'm taking Bones well ahead of Butler, because that's what matters to me. And
then that ignores potential health issues, which
So I
Although
do.
Bones just had a traumatic knee injury already,
Yeah,
so
he
maybe that's
jumped out
not
of
the
it.
best.
Yeah, those scars are intense. All right,
I'm
unfortunately,
sure we're gonna hear about that at the draft. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Trauma porn is bad, and we should not do it. Unfortunately, I gotta exit this shift because we were a little behind schedule. As much as this is just like the fact that VRENZ is the most normal dude in here. It really speaks to how insane this group we picked. Like
This
again,
was-
I did not organize this. I would just like put out the list of like, hey guys, pick a time slot.
This
And
was
this
the
one
group
just
of best.
coagulated into
Really?
like
Yeah, I
fun-
saw like I was the last one to add my name on this one, and I saw like Sharif, VRENZ, and Henry, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna be.
would you like to become the Joker? Welcome to the shift 3 time slot.
This is this is the most fun shift. There is no better shift than this one.
Well,
gold team rules.
okay, so let everybody know where you can find them. I mean, this has been wonderful, guys. Thank you for helping me doing this. Honestly, couldn't have done it without anybody here. Plug away.
I'll go.
Actually, I gotta get going pretty soon. So I'm at Brian J Draft. I'm at Brian J NBA on Patreon and all that shit. So goodbye.
See ya.
You guys are free to hang out if you want. I just want to give you guys a chance to plug. Nobody has to. I'm not kicking you. I'm just saying that we do have to slowly say.
Yeah, I do have to go as well.
Yeah,
I will be back though.
Okay.
Because
I'll be
this
back
is
later.
entertaining. I am Ben at Ben_Pfeifer on Twitter. I don't really have any content planned. I'm kind of retired. So I thank PD for allowing me the chance to spew my takes. But yeah, just give me a follow. Thank you so much to PD for giving us the platform. This is awesome.
Okay, so I guess I'll plug my stuff. I'm Airball, EYRE Ball on Twitter. You can follow me there. I work for ID Prospects, so follow at ID Prospects. We are everywhere: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, whatever. And also id-prospects.com. That's where we have all our content. If you're into international players coming, 1, 2, 3 years up in the pipeline, we have our 2023 eligible rankings, and I guess in 2 months we're gonna start with our 2024 eligible international players. So if you're into that sort of stuff, give us a follow there. And as always, thank you so much, PD, for the invitation, for letting me hang around like way more talented people than I deserve. So
I'm not gonna. That sentence didn't happen. I'm sorry.
Whenever you want me back in the streams, I'll be here, because I think I'm in the lead of how many of your streams I've been invited to. So I want to extend.
I think you and Brian are tied.
Yeah, we need to I want to break that tie. So
Okay, well, we're gonna do summer league streams. So I'm definitely gonna have you on to talk about the Euros in summer league, and
that's awesome.
And also, when guys sign with European teams, I would love to talk to you about potential fits, especially with guys like Dakota, who has a much better knowledge of the the long way background of the league than I do.
That would be awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Of course, you guys are always welcome back in. I just gotta, I gotta move this along, or else I'm gonna talk about Sharif Cooper's 7 pull-up threes until 3:30 in the morning, and people are gonna DM me angry.
All right, see you, man.
See you. CT.
All right. First, thanks, PD, for having me on. I always appreciate talking to you, and you're doing the best, on here, doing the great work. I have actually two articles coming out of retirement. 2 articles coming out. One on who the Nuggets should draft at 26, and then another one on second round prospects that I like compared to the rest of the draft. So hopefully Thursday we get Jaden Springer to the Nuggets, but. Once again, thanks, Peter, for having me on, and I'll be back later.
Of course, always welcome. And excited to get another year of use of the champagne clapping gif.
Yes,
we don't have to change. We don't have to change the uniform at all.
Yep.
Just clap it up. All right. I'm going to take a 5, get the stats ready for the next one. I'm going to flip over to the section. If you guys just want to, for people who may not have been here earlier, if you could subscribe on YouTube, we're very close to monetization, and that would mean a lot. If you have any extra money laying around and you feel so inclined, Patreon goes a long way, helps me pay for stats and video packages. And writing will be up there soon. And it just, it's been a thing that's changed my life, and I'm thankful for each and every person who's contributed. All right. If you can do that, I will mute all this and start to bring in the next people. We have another exciting group, and we are moving closer and closer to the end of this marathon. I feel good. I'm not going to lie to you. I feel better than I thought I would at this point. I don't think we're going to see, I don't want to say that. I don't want to curse the basketball gods. I'm sure they would smite me in some terrible way. Okay. I'm going to put you on the 2003 draft, and we'll start to work stats, and we can move on. Cool. See you in 5.